Rich countries have benefited from the World Trade Organization for years. Now, India has locked horns with the West at the 4-day World Trade Organization ministerial conference that is taking place in Abu Dhabi. During his speech, India's Commerce Secretary said that there were serious concerns about the increasing use of trade protectionist unilateral measures which are being justified in the name of environment protection. What that means is the West is imposing certain restrictions on trade, saying that it's to protect the environment, but what it's actually doing is protecting their trade as opposed to other nations. And who does it harm the most? Developing countries. India says that it's the developing nations that need more flexibility in the WTO rules to ensure that there are lesser curbs on industrialization for them. Developed nations are already industrialized, so such curbs don't impact them as much. There are basically two contentious issues here. First is the carbon tax issue. Basically, the European Union is going to impose a tariff or extra taxes on carbon intensive products like steel, cement and some electricity that's imported into the EU from countries that don't have a carbon price. India has raised this issue in the past as well with the EU, saying that it will hurt the interest of developing countries because of course when developing countries export this material, people will have to pay 20 to 35% more to buy it. So they will end up looking for alternatives. For India, over 25% of exports of iron ore pellets, steel and aluminium products go to the EU. This would be hit by the carbon tax. And the fact of the matter is this really protecting the environment? Because the Asian Development Bank says that these tariffs will hurt developing countries in Asia but will not have a significant impact on greenhouse gas emissions. So there you have it. The second issue is public stock holding for food security. This is another issue that G33 developing countries including India are arguing for a permanent solution to. This issue has been pending for 11 years. Basically, if you are a member of the WTO, there is an upper limit on public stock holding, which is the policy tool under which the government procures crops like rice and wheat from farmers at MSP and then stores and distributes these food grains at lower prices to those who need it. The WTO limit is 10% of production. Developed countries want these subsidies limited because they say that it disturbs the food grain market if it's bought at a much higher price and then sold at a lower price. India has invoked certain clauses which allow breaching this ceiling, but Western countries are not happy about it. In developing countries, the amount of support that the poor need is much higher, and hence G33 nations want a new method to calculate these subsidies. India also pointed to the actual domestic support given per farmer by each country. India said that some developed countries give 200 times more subsidies than the developing ones. So as we discussed at the start, rich nations have benefited from WTO rules for years, while poorer countries risk being shunned from global markets. Protectionism is something that even the WTO chief has slammed richer countries for. What India is doing is calling them out and insisting on more equitable policies. Hope you found this information useful. For more such content, don't forget to subscribe to Mint.